Friends, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Diner Talks with James. I'm James. Super excited to be here with you all again, my friends. We are out here. We got a special episode coming up for you. Joyce Pring is about to come on to the stage. Y'all, I'm not proud of this, but at the same time, I'm proud of this. This is my first international interview, first of many. Buckle up, y'all. She is coming all the way from the Philippines right now. You want to do some time zone math, y'all. Try to coordinate someone with a meeting on the other side of the earth. I don't know how many times I double checked what day, time it is, whatnot. It's technically 11 o'clock Central Time where I'm filming in the United States. That means it is 1 o'clock p.m. In Philippine time, the time in the Philippines. And so we got it done, though, y'all. We are here. Let's bring her out right now. And let me tell you about her first, though, because y'all got to know. All right, we don't just jump in and start talking, y'all. Joyce Pring has the #1 podcast in the Philippines. #1 on Spotify, #1 on iTunes. That's a flex, y'all, okay? It's called Adulting with Joyce Pring. I've had the opportunity to be on it. It is an incredible affair. I recommend you definitely check it out. She also has an amazing lifestyle show also on YouTube. It's just Joyce Pring TV. That's easy to look up. But so make sure you check her out because she's going through some really amazing stuff. She talks about relationships on there, lifestyle stuff, self-help, and new parenting, things that she's going through. It's really well done, and it's shot with incredible cameras, and it's a beautiful affair. And outside of the media, one thing that I've loved, and she and I just met a handful of months ago, and she is easily top 3 kindest people I have met in recent times. Just a wonderful soul. And I'm so excited for you to meet her. And that's evident in the work that she does and how she gives back to the community. She's a World Vision ambassador. Casual, y'all. She does incredible work giving back to this earth, especially through her government and through the media that she does and the TV appearances and whatnot. She always has other people on the brain, and it's really beautiful the way she tells their stories. I'm super excited to hear some more of her story today, y'all. Let's bring her out right now. Joyce Pring.
Yeah. Hello, my friend. I think that will have to be the best introduction I have ever received in my whole life. Literally.
Well, there you just let me know when to show up. You got a permanent hype man in me, Joyce.
Apart from being a host and a speaker, you should be a hype man. Apart from doing everything, if you have time, you should be a hype man, James.
I mean,
I think there's future in that.
There's always room for another stream of income, right? I think we can figure it out. How are you today, friend?
I'm good. I'm halfway across the world. So excited to be here. I love your work. We love having you on the podcast. We did mention that we want to have you again on the podcast, but now being here on your show feels amazing. And I just want to congratulate you for doing the math well, because you figured it out. You and Kiara figured it out. You figured out the time zones.
We did the time zone. It's hard enough when it's like 1 or 2 hour difference here in the States. But it was also really cool. How incredible is it? And this is cheesy, but I love cheese. But like, how crazy is it that you and I are talking right now, right? Just like casually on a video call and just like, I don't know, technology. There's every once in a while where I zoom out and be like, I don't know how this is happening, but I'm grateful it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. And I love that this is the first time that you're doing an international collaboration. I'm so honored that I'm the first person as an international collab, but I feel like it would be so amazing for you when you get to do so many other international collabs, because it's just crazy being able to talk to someone from a different part of the world and hearing their stories, and you just feel so little and so big at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I consider this is breaking the seal right now. I already have, as soon as we got you on the calendar, I was like, I have to get more, because why not? I don't know, especially in a world that doesn't always do a good job at listening. What a way to kind of bring people together in a medium like podcasting to help people bring us a little bit closer together and recognize that humans are humans.
Definitely. if I may just add, that's precisely the reason why I love podcasting,
Mm,
because gives you the chance to listen to other people, to really see what they're going through, to see life from a different perspective, and to actually respect and empathize other people without necessarily constantly agreeing with them. Like I could be with someone that I don't agree with, but then listen to their opinion and be like, okay, that's an interesting way to go about it, and you only get to do that. I mean, and you only get to do that with a podcast or with by maximizing technology to be able to listen and empathize to each other better.
yeah. Yeah. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. I could not agree more. That was beautifully put. Joyce, here's the thing. The show's called Diner Talks with James. Now, have you ever been to, I guess, what would be considered a traditional diner before? Like a place that's got a flat top grill. They're serving eggs and pancakes and things like that. Have
Mhm.
you been to a diner before?
I have, yes. A couple of times I've traveled to New York City because my best friend moved there. So
Oh,
we would
great.
often go to diners just to get a really good piece of cheesecake and
Yes.
coffee. You know that combination of cheesecake and coffee in the morning. That's
Uh,
that's sometimes all you need. So
in the
yes, and
morning. I love it.
yeah, in the morning, just a randomly having a huge piece of cheesecake in the morning. I got coffee, so at least, right, it has a
Exactly.
semblance of breakfast in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean you're basically eating brunch at that point, right? You're kind of mixing
Uh-huh.
the morning coffee with the afternoon. Yeah, you're good. I think it's fine with me.
We're good.
Uh
Yeah.
yeah. Now, here's my question for you. In the Philippines, is there a late night eating equivalent, right? Or like are there restaurants that are open a little bit late? Is it street food markets? Is it just grandma's cooking something at all hours? What's going on over there?
We love food in the Philippines. So the
Yeah.
Philippines, we eat everything, and not that's not usually a good thing, but we eat everything, and we also have like late night food. So we have this thing called patis, which is like beef brisket, and you
Mm,
always eat it with beef brisket that's a little bit it's saucy, and then you get it with rice, garlic rice, and then some soup. So you call that recovery food. So when you get drunk by around 11 or 12 midnight, the patis is open until 5 in the morning so that you can party all night and then eat at the patis station at around 3 or 4 in the morning. And it just feels so good to have that grease and that
mm.
soup and that beef brisket and that garlic rice in you. So I think that would be our late night food. That's kind of our diner situation here. And yeah, we have Filipinos love eating and cooking. Have you ever been to the Philippines?
I have not yet. But
Not yet, right?
you offered that if I ever did show up, that you take me under your wing, and better believe I
Yes,
recorded that, downloaded it, put it in writing, and it's official. So
it is. It is. It's a great place to be, and the food is amazing. It's cheap at that too, and we have fresh food every single day. So it's good.
yeah.
It's good. We'd love to take you around here.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's those late night meals, like you said, when you're with your friends, and who knows what happened throughout the night. But there's those people that you never want to leave, and the food that you probably shouldn't be eating, but at the same time, maybe it's
Mhm.
actually going to help you tomorrow. That's what this podcast is built off of, trying to recreate those amazing conversations with awesome people. And so that's why I'm super excited to have you here, Joyce. And so I was wondering, when you were younger, we're going to start all the way at the back, because you and I we haven't known
Ooh.
each other too long, and so I just want to get to know you a little bit better. So here's a classic first question: what did you want to be when you grew up? When you were super
Wow.
young, what did you want to be? Take me all the way back.
We're going so profound right off the bat here. Thanks, James.
I mean, I
Okay,
wanted to be a
well,
race car driver, so I mean, as profound as that is.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I actually, just to give you a little bit of background, I grew up in a poor family. So I
Mhm.
grew up in a poor family in I guess you would call a little bit of a slums area here in the Philippines, and I didn't know how to speak a different any other language apart from Filipino when I was 8 or 10 years old, and that's a sign of not being able to afford anything here in the Philippines.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to be a doctor when I was a kid because being in the Philippines, the constant Asian thing, I guess, that you would get from other people is that if you become a doctor or a lawyer or any other professional profession that is
Yeah.
that's in line with that, you'd get out of poverty and you'd have a better life. And so I guess when I was a kid, I just started off as I wanted to have a better life. I wanted to have a more comfortable life than what I had been born into, and becoming a doctor was that ticket for me, you know? So I
Yeah.
never really saw myself doing all this media stuff because my whole life it was always studying better, studying smarter, so that I'd get better grades, so that I eventually get to medical school. But then somewhere along the way I met friends that kind of told me, you know what, it's great that you want to be a doctor, but maybe you can start doing media, maybe you could start doing, reading some stuff and modeling and doing
Hmm.
all of these online stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. When that first happened, when your friends were first like, "Hey, this could be a thing." I mean, I assume you weren't like, "Oh, okay, I'll go do that really quick," right? Like, I mean, that had to be. I don't know. Whenever my friends told me you could do this, even when they told me I could be a professional
Mhm.
speaker, I was like, nah, "I can't be a speaker. I don't even know how to talk," right? Like, and you just like find all the reasons why you could never be the thing that other people thought that
Yeah.
that they saw in you. It's such a
Mhm.
beautiful thing, right? Other people often see our greatness before we do, and it doesn't make them wrong, right?
Yeah.
But in that moment, do you remember how you reacted when people were first telling you like, "Oh, you could do media, you can be in front of the camera, whether it's a still or video"?
You know what? I just came from a place of practicality because I was in college the first time that people were telling me that you should try doing media.
Yeah.
And I was working at the same time I was studying in college. So my work demanded for me to be, it was an offshore company. So I had to work from 12 midnight to 9 a.m. And then my first class in college was at 10:30 a.m. So you can imagine the kind of
Oof.
lifestyle I was living. I was exhausted, constantly exhausted. And my friends were just like, you know what? You could start doing media because you're good at speaking, you're good at this, you're good at that, maybe you could try it out. And the first thing that came to my mind was not even my potential or that people saw potential in me, but
Yeah.
more that I just needed a place to be more practical with the work that I do. I just needed more sleep, and that if that means that working in the media would give me that, then I'll try it out. But you're right in saying that most of the time we don't see our potential until somebody points it out to us, because I just thought I would be a writer my whole life, you know?
Mhm.
I thought I'd be the nerd, the writer, and I thought that would be the only thing that I could do with my life. And I was always, I think I felt like I had this chip on my shoulder that, oh, I came from this background. I had no ties in show business. I had no ties in the media. I could never be in that platform because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have anybody to help me get on that platform. But people would often, and friends I think would often encourage me and tell me that, you know what, you're saying no already without even trying. You're already saying that you're incapable of something without even making the effort to try and see if you are capable of doing it. So yeah, I think my whole media life was more like that. I never knew that I could be on TV,
Yeah.
and then somebody told me you should be on TV. I never knew I could be on radio, and then somebody asked me to be on radio, and all of these other things. And then eventually it just kind of led into me eventually trying out all things on my own. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. Don't you hate those friends that like be like, "No, you should do this. No, you're actually good at this." Like, I fire those friends all the time. Listen, you got to stop believing in me, okay? I'm over it, right? Enough of this kindness, enough of this seeing more for me, right? Uh, Here's a cool through line between what you just shared, because you talked about wanting to be a doctor, not wanting to be a doctor because I'm going to save lives and have a
Mhm.
huge impact. I'm sure that was something that
Yeah.
you did care about. It's not like you didn't care about that, but it was the practicality of what being a doctor meant that you could do in your life, right?
Yeah.
And then it was the practicality of like, well, I guess I'll do media because it's like you were one of the first people that I've ever said of like, I think doing media is pretty practical, right? Like in most other places, it's like those are the crazy dreamers of like, I'm going to be on television, right? But I love for you in your time, it was like, no, this is the practical thing for me to do because of the lifestyle that I'm currently living, the way my classes and the job that I was working. Yeah. That's so funny. Do you notice, is that, are you still a fairly practical person? Is that the way your brain functions still?
Not anymore.
Okay.
And I like that. I like that you pointed that out because I guess the first few years of me working, it started out as practicality because I had to fulfill a need that I had in my life, which was I needed financial stability. I needed to have a normal life, a comfortable life, because I didn't grow up with that. So it all started with practicality, and I would go where practicality would take me. It wasn't purpose first or passion first. It was always give me a job and I'll take it. Whatever job you can give me that would give me enough money to fund my life and to help my family, I'll take that. And eventually, I think a lot of people would talk about finding your passion and your purpose. And for some of us, honestly, it doesn't start that way. Some of us just start with practicality. And then eventually you stumble into something that you find yourself enjoying. And then the only way that you could really stay in a particular job and really enjoy it for the rest of your life, like what we're both doing now, what I'm doing now with my profession, is when you find a bigger purpose than just practicality. And I think with any work that we do, whether it was me writing at that time, working in an offshore company, a BPO company, to now working in the media, what kept me going is a bigger purpose, definitely a bigger purpose than myself and than that practicality. I wanted to be able to support my family and take care of my family. I wanted to be able to use the platform that I had acquired in the years that I was working in media to inspire other people, to help other people, to give voice to other people. And so what started out as practicality eventually ended up with purpose. So
lit a fire.
Yeah, I lit
for
a fire,
sure.
definitely.
It really did. Yeah. That's incredible. It's funny to think back to think back and be like, what would my life have been like if I was a doctor? Right. Like, and you still would be, you still would be impacting others, right. In a very beautiful way, but a very different way. It's so funny to think about if I just stayed on the one path and kept my blinders on, where would I be? Yeah. But you did choose this, and it did blow up, and it's really beautiful. And so, you have become a full-fledged influencer, as the kids are saying these days, right? But like, you're a full-blown influencer. When did it go from like a little bit what you mentioned, just expand on a little bit. When did it go from like influencer being the goal or just being the result? Like, do you think it was the goal all along once you kind of started to get into media and see the power of story, the power of media and your role within it? Do you think the goal was influencer, or was it just kind of the result because you just kept hustling?
Yeah, it's the latter, it was kind of the result because I kept hustling. And the thing is, I didn't start out as an influencer. I started out as a TV host. So I was actually working in TV, and I guess, would you agree with me that the digital world is so powerful, even more than TV nowadays, right? Like, I know
Yes.
more people because of the internet than I do because of watching TV. Like, I was in a hotel recently and I was like, wow, this is what channel surfing feels like. I've forgotten this, most of the time you'll just go straight to Netflix, search for the movie that you're looking for, and that's it. But now, and the reason why I say that is because I started in TV, and I kid you not, for a couple of years, I was on TV and I was not earning any money. I wasn't earning as much money as I thought I would be. So I started creating content online just because I felt like, okay, TV, maybe not for me, maybe not a lot of people will see me on TV. I've been working so hard, but not a lot of people recognize me. Maybe if I start creating my own content and, using my own voice in the digital platform, then people would start noticing. And so that's how it kind of snowballed. I always say that my main work is in TV. I still host a morning show here in the Philippines. I used to anchor the evening news as their showbiz reporter. I used to do that, but now I do a lot of online stuff because it just feels like there's more chances for you to reach out other people. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think we'd ever get the chance to talk, James, if I were just here in the Philippines, because television shows here in the Philippines, they would focus on stuff that's happening here in the Philippines. It's
Yeah, for sure.
obviously, right?
Yeah,
But
I'd have to
in the
buy some
digital.
expensive cable package in order to maybe see a channel in the Philippines.
Exactly,
Yeah.
definitely. So like I had to maximize. And you know what I loved about digital when I was starting out? I loved that it leveled out the playing field. I love
Mm,
that I didn't have to, because when you're in TV, you have to fit a certain mold. I remember when I started hosting, and my producers were asking, "So what are you? Because you write, you sing in a band, whatever. What are you? Are you the rocker girl?" And I was like, "I'm not the rocker girl. I don't think I can brand myself as the rocker girl." But they always want you to fit a certain mold. Like you cannot be a multifaceted, multi hyphenate human. You have to be that one brand that we could put you on a mold and sell you as such. Does that make sense?
yeah, for
And so
sure.
yeah, so I didn't want to be that. And I felt like the internet was this beautiful thing, especially when the trolls weren't that big yet in 2011.
Free
It was a
trolls.
pre-trolls era where we all wanted just watching random unicorns on our screens and cat memes. When it was all that, it was fun to be yourself and present your ideas and create YouTube videos and talk to people and make friends online. And I found that to be so interesting. And then it just ended up snowballing into this career of actually being an influencer, of endorsing brands in the digital platform. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the internet makes us all so much closer, right?
Mhm.
It feels like there's way more or way less degrees of separation from us. That TV is like it's like almost it feels like not a little untouchable, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah, I love the way that you put that. Like, I mean, for example, there's a new app that's really popular right now called Clubhouse,
Mhm.
and like, I was able to get on stage and ask like Malcolm Gladwell a question the other day, right? Like on this app. And like my friend just texted me. He's like, I was just talking to Paris Hilton about cryptocurrency. This is what is life? And I was like, I don't know what life is, but that's the power of this digital media space, right?
Mhm.
It just brings everybody a little bit closer. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And the way that you use it is really awesome as well, because you bring people into your life, right? With the Joyce Pring TV show on
Mhm.
YouTube and stuff like that, right? The way that you connect. But it's also fascinating because there are ways to build those walls. There are ways to build that separation between you and your audience. And if you wanted to, you could make, and you don't do this, thank you. But if you wanted to, you could build these tiers of separation of like, I'm up here and I'm impressive and I'm looking down on
Mhm.
all you people, right? Authenticity plays such a huge role in who you are and how you show up. But that's
Mhm.
difficult because creating a personal brand and trying to remain 100% authentic, sometimes there's a little tension in between those two things. I know I've noticed it for sure, and sometimes where it's like, well, do I want to post that photo or this photo? Should I post this reel on Instagram or this, right? Like, I mean, and just those stories of like what's in the caption, and if I put hashtags, am I all of a sudden being fake because I want other people to see it? And just like, I don't know, the internet's a bit of a mind numbing place that way sometimes, but there are ways to do it with authenticity, with vulnerability. I would be curious to hear how do you approach that? How do you try to show your people that, hey, I just happen to my name happens to be Joyce Pring. Yeah, sure, I got a bunch of followers, but like I put my shoes on every day too, right? Like, I'm out here. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah. How does that play
definitely.
a role in how you post or show up online?
I think it also starts with maybe my background. I didn't come from an affluent background, and so I hate it when people kind of put that over you, like I'm better than you because I have more money, influence, followers, and I'm better looking. Because when you really think about it, there will always be someone who's better looking, probably richer, and
Mhm.
is just a better human being than that person who's trying to make you feel bad for yourself. And so that in itself humbles me. That in itself reminds me that I am just another human being who just happens to be so blessed and so lucky to be doing what I love and to be given a platform that I can take care of. So I don't want for other people to feel like I'm better than them just because of the opportunities and the privileges that I was given throughout my lifetime. And I think that's how we should all operate.
Yeah.
What we don't understand sometimes is we come from all different backgrounds and we are all given different kinds of opportunities and different kinds of skill sets and talents. And sometimes your background, your opportunity, your skill set, and your talents will give you a better life than others. And so, how can you make things better for the world when you are kind of put into a place where you're just place to thrive, right? So, for me, that would always be to kind of level out the playing field in the sense that I would just not look at myself in that way. I would not want to put myself on a pedestal. That's the first one. I understand that every human being has intrinsic value, whether or not they're successful or they have money or they have influence or anything like that. And my dad would always tell me, you have to judge people in the way that they talk to the CEO and the way that they talk to the janitor. So if they talk to the CEO
Mm,
better than the janitor, then there's something wrong there. And
I
that's one
love
of the
that.
many things that I learned from my dad. And my dad also told me what makes a good speaker and what makes a good host and what makes a good leader. He said that a good leader, a good speaker, a good host, they all speak from the heart. And when he says heart, that means like the seat of their being, their authenticity. And he said, people can figure out if you're lying to them. They have like this, he says, it's your sincerity alarm. People can know if you're sincere or if you're just trying to manipulate them to like you or to think that you're better than them or to think that you're smart and you're someone that's important. They will feel that. And so you don't want to be that. You want to be authentic in who you are, in what you do, authentic towards other people, because first, that's respect towards them. And second, that's also giving value to who you are. And so he told me that what you should be focusing on is not what how people see you, but how you treat yourself in order to treat others better. And how do we do that, right? He says that happens in the books that you read, that happens in the podcasts that you listen to, that happens in the friends that you surround yourself with. When you surround yourself with good people, when you take in good material within your soul, within your heart, then you are able to be authentically, courageously authentic without fearing that other people won't like you. Because honestly, I did the work. I'm trying to be a good person. If you don't like it, then I'm really sorry, but I'm trying to do my best and becoming a good, excellent person and helping my community. And if that's something that doesn't sit right with you, then I'm sorry, but it's not for you. So I think that's what authenticity became for me. It became the operating, the driver in my life that and I'm sure you see this, James, right? I'm sure you see in your profession as well a lot of people who try to be inauthentic and try to be somebody else because they know that sells better. If you speak a
Sure.
certain way, if you look a certain way, that sells better, so you try to be that. But I never want to become that because that will also be tiring and difficult. And you'll also be pulled towards so many different directions that you might not be able to withstand for the rest of your life. Like imagine trying to be the person that's always just trying to be the trending topic online. You like that's such a tiring way to live.
Yeah.
Imagine to be the person that just wants to be that just wants to have 10,000 likes on your Instagram post every single time. You want that kind. I mean, you could, right, if you wanted to, but what kind of life would that give you? What kind of soul will that leave you with? So I don't want to live that way. I want to live an authentic and joyful life. And if that means that there's going to be a cap to my influence, then so be it, because influence is not everything.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for coming for Joyce Pring's TED Talk. That'll be it for today. That was
Oh my god.
You just said, listen, do me a favor, y'all. Rewind it. Okay. Rewind the tape and listen to that one more time. I also just learned something, and that's that I need Joyce Pring's father on on an episode. I hope he is still with us. If he is not, I'm sorry. I just put my foot in my mouth. But what a wise old sage of a man.
He is.
What incredible, pay attention to the way someone talks to the CEO and the janitor, right?
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. I say that all the time. If I were to talk to your flight attendant, if I were to talk to the person that bagged your groceries, if I were to talk to your priest, if I were to talk to your spouse, your partner, your best friend, well, they all say a similar thing about your character. And if they're not, then you have work to do, right? What a beautiful word. I love the way that your father put that, and the fact that I'm repeating some of these things because they were so good. I don't care. I'll be redundant. But the fact that the leader, the host, and the speaker, what do they all have in common? They come from the heart, right? They speak from the seat of their being. That's a quote. Yeah, I love that, Joyce. The way that you put that is beautiful, and we know that trying to be someone you're not takes way more effort. Right. And so chasing down those likes, chasing down those everything, there's so many people that want to be influencers, but they are not influential. Right.
Mhm.
And there's a big difference between the two. If you are not influential, then why would you ever get to be an influencer? Right. What are you doing that is impacting the world around you? That would deem you someone who is worthy of having that kind of moment. So many people want to shine, but they don't see that the way to get there is from them finding something that they care about so much that they think other people need to care about, that they fall into complete alignment. And they're like, this is going to be my thing that I give to the world. And that's hard to find, right? That's hard. That's why we see people trying all the things, right? And I don't blame them, right? I mean, no one just pops out and is like, I will do this, right? That's just not the way it works, right? I mean, look at you. You wanted to be a doctor, and now you're a TV host, a podcast host, a digital media creator, a speaker, right? I wanted to be a race car driver, then I wanted to be a marine biologist, then I got a master's in counseling, and then I worked in higher education, and now I'm a speaker, right? It doesn't have to be linear. We beat ourselves up about that a lot of times, right? That we think life is this series of railroad tracks where it's like, okay, you're going to get off at the high school graduation, and then you'll get off at college graduation, and then you'll get your first job, and then you'll get married, and you'll get a dog, and you'll have a kid, and you'll die, and then you'll retire and die. Right? Life is not life is not meant to be constricted to train tracks. And so, where are you finding what you care about, not just what the world tells you you're supposed to care about? Or I don't know. Yeah, what you just said, I don't know. Clearly it got me fired up because I'm ranting at this point, Joyce. So thank you for finding the switch.
I'll let my dad know.
You let him know.
Loves him. Yeah.
Get me on his calendar. No, I love it. So as someone with influence here in the United States, women who have power are unfortunately still struggling to break through glass ceilings and whatnot. I mean, Kamala Harris has been a beautiful example of finally of how far women should have been able to get and still should go further in the leadership of this country. But still, if you look at how many CEOs are women, if you look at how many, et cetera, whatever, owners, whatever, you can go all the way out. For women, it is still a harder road. It's funny, I know that you're having a baby, and so I think you'll appreciate this. But when my wife and I were talking about, we were thinking about doing some sort of gender reveal party, but then we're like, no, I don't think we're going to do that. But her idea was to get a piggy bank and if it was going to be a boy, we'd have $1 in the piggy bank. And if it was a girl, there was going to be 78 cents in there because women make 78 cents to the dollar. As you can tell, I'm married to a badass woman. And so we wound up having a boy, and we're like, it's just not as funny. If it was a woman, it would have been, if we had a girl, that would have actually been funny, but now it's just kind of sad. So, but here's my question for you. In the Philippines, is it different for you as a woman? Or are there still, do you find pushback, right? You talked about the trolls coming out of the woodworks. Is this still a tougher road for you than some of your male counterparts? And I feel like you get more, I would assume you get more pressure put on you. The spotlight is brighter because you are a woman. Do you feel that? Is that true in the Philippines for you?
I mean, it's true to a certain extent, but
Okay.
I think I want to say that in the Philippines also we see a lot of women leaders. I'm proud of the Philippines because we have a lot of women CEOs, we have a lot of women business owners. Majority of the of our leaders here are women. We have a lot of
Yes.
women expos. We have a lot of all those amazing things, and that's I think the reason why I wasn't afraid to just step out and get it, because I was surrounded by a lot of people who believed in me. But that doesn't mean that I don't get the same kind of I guess difficulty as other women from across the world. One example would be just in my physical appearance. People are constantly talking about my physical appearance because
Mm.
I'm a woman. The moment I gain weight, people will start commenting, "Hey, you gain weight. You look pregnant," even before I was pregnant, because I just, or once I got married, people would start telling me, "Oh, you have no other future now. You can't be a TV host anymore because you're just going to be at home and you're going to have to deal with your family and be married and have kids. And that's the only thing that you should be doing." So, there are a lot of pressures also of becoming a woman. But more than anything, I think the Philippines has been growing a lot with in terms of really figuring out how to treat our women better. We've had 2 women presidents here in the Philippines. So before the one that we have right now, it was a lot better. It was really a lot better. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to say that it's much better than I feel like it's I've never worked in the US, but it has been much better in the Philippines than I would think in the US, only because there are a lot of opportunities here in the Philippines for women like myself. And I remember I was talking to someone from Singapore. I had a woman speaker. Her name is Simone Heng. She lives in Singapore. She's amazing. She's an expert on human connection. And I was ranting to her about our government. Our government doesn't care about us. Our president is sexist. All these things. And she just told me, you know what? But living in the Philippines has actually given you a lot of opportunities that people in Singapore or people in other countries have not been given. And looking back, when I was 7 years old or 9, 10 years old, our president was a woman. And before
Mm.
that, there was another woman president, and I had 4 strong women in my life: my mom, my aunts, and my grandma. I grew up, my grandma was a single mom raising 4 daughters. So I had that with me. So I wouldn't say I'm not going to say I struggled a lot, but there are certain things that I struggle with, like physical appearances and things like that I feel I notice not men don't talk about. I mean, the audience don't talk about when it's a male host. So
Sure, yeah.
I've also had, or like old companies that would think having a male host would be better, or a male person is a smarter person. Like I had an uncle who told me, I had a boyfriend before who was very smart, and he said, "Oh, he's a smart dude, huh? It's good that you have a boyfriend that's a smart dude." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm a smart girl too." And then he goes, "Yeah, but men who are smart are actually smarter than women who are smart." I was
Oh
just like,
God. Oh boy.
sitting there
Oh boy.
like, what? That went straight down the hill. So you can't have it all, I guess. It's
Yeah.
it's there's progress, but it's not yet perfect. I don't think
Yeah.
it ever will be.
Yeah. Yeah. But what we said was so beautiful early in that point, and you came back to it also, right? Like as a 7-year-old, as someone who is starting to dream, see the world in a bigger way, and maybe their place in it a little bit, right? Those dreams are really starting to pop off. Like at that point, you were taught, oh, I can be president, right? Like that's incredible. I think we talked about this when I was on your show. The power of relatability is it's incredible. When we see ourselves in someone else, we believe that we can. And so the fact that you saw that in such a early age, both in the 4 incredibly strong women around you, but then also in who your country decided to elect, is incredible. And but you're right. I mean, just it's funny, just because we got it here doesn't mean everything else is figured out, right? I think we saw that in the United States. People were like, Barack Obama was president, so we're not racist anymore. All right. I'm like, no. But that's not how that works. It's funny the way people are like, great, we fixed it. It's like, no, that's not. So yeah, I think it's also I love the stories that you also shared. I don't love that they happened to you, but that you shared them, and is just proof of just that. Thanks for letting me ask you that question. I knew it's a little sensitive, but it just, I think there's so much that we can learn from other countries, and you all have had female presidents. So we will get there. Clearly we're getting closer.
You're getting close, man. Almost there.
We are. Come on now. Joyce, I've been throwing a lot of deep stuff at you, and I appreciate you letting me do it. But let's lighten it up a little bit. I have a segment on the show that is called The Things That You Didn't Know About Me, But Are Now Glad That You Did. Now, Joyce, there's something you should know, and that is that the name of this segment changes every time, but the segment itself is basically the same. Okay. How it's going to work is that you and I are going to share a couple of random facts about ourselves that have nothing necessarily to do with what we are talking about right now, and just super random things, whether it's an embarrassing story of something that happened when you were younger, or maybe just something silly and random that you do. Maybe you eat a food in a unique way, or something like that. Are you down to play, Joyce?
I am down. Let's do it.
I love it. Okay, here's my first story. The first scar that I can remember getting is on my right knee, and it's because I was fooling around in the kitchen while my mom was making spaghetti, and she was boiling water, and I bumped into the stove, and some of the water came over and spilled onto my knee. And to this day, my mama arrabbiata spaghetti is still the best food I've ever had. It doesn't matter that it has literally scarred me. But so yeah, there's a random one from me. What do you got for us?
Since we're in the line of scars already, the first scar that I got, I don't know if you could see it here. You see that here?
I do. Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah,
just a little bit. It's actually deeper when I don't have makeup on. But the first scar that I got was I was around 2 or 3 years old, and I fell down the stairs, and there was a nail whose sharp edge was just right outside, because it was a wooden staircase, and it went right through my eyebrow, just missing my eye by a few centimeters. And now it's just this big scar that I have. See? Do you see that?
Look at that. Yes. A badge of honor.
Yes. Looks like it's and friends would call me Samurai X when I was a kid, because it was much deeper and more profound when I was younger. So
yeah.
How many facts are we sharing?
There's worse nicknames than Samurai X when you're younger, right? Like
that's a badass nickname.
That's a badass nickname for you. Like, okay, yeah, this one can stick. That's fine. This one can stick. Yeah. My poor dad's nickname was Squirrel. Everyone's got something. Yeah, we'll do a couple each, or a few each.
Okay.
So I'll give you one more. So what was the one that I just had it where it just went away?
Scar.
I do have another scar story. I can tell you that. Here it is. So when I was younger, I could not keep pets alive. I couldn't. Don't worry. I never had a dog, so like or cat. Like don't go all the way over there. No mammals. But that's not true. I did have a rabbit. Rest in peace. But so but the longest pet that I was able to keep alive, besides the bunny, he did okay. But was a blue gourami, which is a freshwater fish about yay big, and old blue lived for about 4 months. It was the longest I had ever had a pet, and since he was my longest living pet, we gave him a proper burial. He did not go down the toilet. Instead, he was put in a shoebox in the front yard with a rock as a tombstone. So there you go. The pet that I was able to keep alive the longest was for 4 months, and it was a blue fish.
How? Why couldn't you keep them alive? I'm curious.
Were
you feeding them too much?
Yeah, I don't know if it was too much, too little. I don't know if I just, I think it's one of those things where it's like, I love fish, but then you also realize you have to clean the tank, right?
Yeah.
And fish are a little temperamental, and I have ADHD. Let's blame it on the fish. Really, it's really fish's fault when you think about it.
The fish are temperamental. Yeah, sure, fish, that's their problem.
They're looking at me with the hairy eyeball. Anyway, listen, we don't got to get into it. All right. You know how science works. But yeah, I think I also just had. I think I had big pet owning dreams, but then like my ADHD and the fact that I wanted to always be anywhere and everywhere at the same time, I just wound up not being a very good pet parent, to be honest. So
do you have pets now though?
We do. I was when I came to start to date Tina, who is now my wife, she had a small dog named Sherry, and so I got what they call a twofer, my wife and Sherry in the package. So Sherry is a 10-year-old Dachshund Sheltie mix, and she's very sweet.
That's good. Are you keeping her alive? You're doing good this time around, right?
6 years, yeah, definitely by far the longest I've had a pet alive. 6 years so far with me, 4 years before me. So yeah.
Good job, James. I'm happy for you.
And
You've
so
come
far,
a long way from 4 months.
Yep. And so far, we had a baby 2 months ago. So far the baby's been alive 2 months. And so that's great. So we're doing great over here. I think I'm becoming a better parent every day.
You're making up for lost times.
Exactly. You will not have died in vain. 50 some odd fish and a couple of lizards. Anyway. So yeah, that's what I got for you. What do you hit us with one more, Joyce? Give us one more.
Okay, one more. When you told me that your dream as a kid was to become a race car driver, I lit up because I was actually a race car driver before.
Oh shoot. Look at this. Holding up a photo of her with the helmet. Tell me about this story in the whole and the suit.
And the suit and everything.
Yeah.
Right. Look at that.
Pose too. And the pose, of course. Come on now.
And the pose. Yeah. So I actually raced. I did circuit racing for a couple of years here in the Philippines from 2015 to around 2017. I was racing cars for 3 seasons. And I actually won in the podium. I think my best one was like a second placer for female celebrity drivers. So, yeah.
There it is. That is super fun.
And here's the thing. So before I started racing cars, I had no idea how to drive manual. And so I was asked by a car company. It's like, hey, do you want to race cars? And I said, yeah, sure. Okay, so we signed the papers, and they said, okay, so just show up for racing school in the state. So I showed up, and the teacher, our coach, was like, okay, you only have to learn the first thing here. And if you don't know this thing, get out of my classroom. And he said, you have to learn how to drive stick. If you don't know how to drive stick, get out of my classroom. And I had no idea how to drive manual. I had never in my life driven manual. So the first time that I learned how to drive manual and the first time that I drove a manual car was on a racetrack.
Incredible.
If you'd believe it.
Incredible. Yeah. And driving, do you now enjoy driving stick?
No, it's traffic in the Philippines.
Great. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Only if you're on the racetrack, I guess. But in the Philippine city, driving is just horrible. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I have a friend who was quoted as saying, "If you're not driving, stick. You're just aiming," and I appreciated that. I thought that was a good quote. Do you still have a thing? Do you have a thing for cars? Do you enjoy cars?
Yeah, I still do, but I don't know if you also felt this when you found out that you guys were pregnant. Um, my husband and I used to just buy whatever, you used to live life on the edge. If you
Mm,
wanted a new car, even if that means buying a secondhand fast car, you'd go ahead and do that.
yeah.
But now that I found out I was pregnant, we're looking at SUVs and minivans
Oh,
and
wow. How quickly we give up.
I've given up on my dreams. I'm
I
just
know.
like, and my best friend came to me and she said, you used to be a cool girl once. You
Yeah.
used to be fun. You used to race cars, and now we're just looking at minivans and
Uh,
being so happy that you get a chance to buy a minivan. But I'm loving the transition. I guess one day when I'm not pregnant anymore and nursing a baby, then I'll get back to it. But in the meantime, it's minivans and SUVs for me, James.
yeah, there it is. There's nothing wrong with having a toy car on the side, but we also went the SUV route when we found out that we were pregnant, and I vowed that I would never buy an SUV, and per
Right?
usual, I promptly ate my words. So that's fine. That's fine. As soon as you say I will never, that usually means it's probably going to happen at some point in my life now. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. But you are, friend, you are pregnant. I don't know if I don't know. Let me be the first person to tell you that right now. I don't know if you knew that about yourself, but no, but this is
So
super. I'm
that's what
so,
this tummy is going on. That's what it. I thought it was just too much beer.
oh,
My
geez,
goodness.
potties. Yeah, the it's super exciting. This is fun because when you and I first talked, we were pregnant, and then we had our baby on New Year's Eve. And it's so fun that now you and I are talking, and you are pregnant, and due in just a handful of months, which is so fun, and I'm excited for you. I'm also nervous for you. It's a lot. It's really beautiful, but it's also like, oh wow, okay, this happens every day. I got to take care of you every day. Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. I don't know if I've done anything every day of my life. And so, but it's a beautiful gift. And so, I know that your time is valuable. So I have one more question for you, and it revolves around parenting, and it's a broad question, but I'm wondering. What is one thing that you are looking forward to teaching your child?
Oh my goodness. One question and a world full of answers for that question, huh?
When in doubt, and softly.
Oh my goodness. You're right. It's a scary time, honestly. I was actually diagnosed with depression and anxiety in 2016, and I've been okay for the past couple of months, but this pregnancy honestly triggered my anxiety again. Like I would randomly wake up in the middle of the night and, have to deal with my anxiety. I talked to my therapist about it, and it's just a scary time, but it's also a really exciting time in the sense that you get to bring a new human being to this world and help mold that human being to become someone that could actually make the world a better place. And I guess that's the one thing that I want to teach my child, that he or she has the capability to become a good person, to become a person that loves God, that loves his community, that loves his family, and that he can actually make a difference in this world, that his voice will never be too little or too small to make an impact, that his actions will never be too soft or too invaluable that it wouldn't make an impact, that he actually has intrinsic value, and that he should see every other person and human being with the same intrinsic value and treat them with respect and love and empathy and I think if there's anything that I would want to change in this world, it's really the apathy that we all
Mm,
sometimes have because of how busy everything is, how fast paced everything is, and how honestly comfortable everything is. Everything's because of technology, social media, all these other things. Things can be so easy if if you live in a privileged lifestyle. But and you could be so easily become apathetic because of that. But I want to teach my child to be empathetic. I want to teach my child that he has the capability and the capacity to make a difference. So maybe that's the one thing that I'd love to teach my child. How about you, James? I'm going to throw that question back at you because it's hard.
Up, and we're out of time. All right. First off, shout out to you. I mean, you just painted with some words. That was really beautiful. And yeah, I don't know, it's excited. And we're both. Are you having a boy?
I can't tell you, James. We're going to do the gender reveal.
Okay,
I'm going to steal your idea if it's a girl.
You should. Yeah, you should. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we had a boy. We had a boy, and his name is Rome, Roam. And he's a pretty cool dude so far. We'll keep him. But I think along the lines of what you shared, I want, especially the idea of raising a boy who will become a man in this world. That's not something to be taken for granted, right? And so I'm really excited and also overwhelmed at the prospect of trying to raise a very good man. I think our world needs good men, and so I want to raise a man who is not afraid to share his process of what he is going through and what emotions he is feeling. And there's so much strength in vulnerability, and so just someone who is self-aware, and I also want to raise someone who is curious, and curious about others. Like you said, what a way for us to make the world feel smaller. What a way for us to start to just bring us closer together. If we were all a little more curious, I believe a lot of our issues would go away, because we would see that the gaps that the media, that social media, that I don't know, rants on now of neighbors next to each other, right? Like even those kind of things, like just stopping and asking another question before we just jump to an assumption, or before we gave another piece of advice, assuming we understood that person's world. And so let me tell you what you need to know right now. Like I want to raise a son who is curious about the world around him. I want to raise a son who is not afraid to listen, like he might be wrong. And so, yeah. So we'll see. Seems like a easy enough thing to do. So we'll just get to working on that.
Seems better than trying to keep your pet alive before. So I think you're going to be doing good at it.
Yeah, for sure. Here we go. I deserve that. I love it. Joyce, I cannot thank you enough for coming in here and hanging out with me at the diner, my friend. It has been so special having you here. And shout out to the Philippines, the thriller from Manila out here. And it is just so special to get to spend this time with you, and to have you share your stories, your thoughts, your wisdom, and just you. I really appreciate you, Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you also, James. I really appreciate this time. I love our conversation. And can I just say that people are still messaging us about the episode that we did together. And especially in the culture that we have, you talking about how leaders can lead imperfectly, how we should be valuing relatability and being imperfect. That was just such a huge, important conversation that we all needed to hear. So you having Diner Talks and having this podcast and having the show is just a breath of fresh air. And I cannot tell you how excited I am that you are now going to bring your light to different parts of the world with different people from across the world. So thank you. I'm really so honored to be the first of many international collabs. Great to be here.
The first of many indeed, my friend. Thank you so much. I do think I would be honored to record another episode. I don't know what happened to my audio in the last one, but I promise you it will be good on the next one. And so if you'll have me back, I will not let you down. I can't thank you all enough. Listen, my friends, it has been such an honor getting to kick it with Joyce. Make sure you check her out, joycepring.com. You can also feel free to check her out at Joyce Pring on Instagram. Make sure you download Adulting with Joyce Pring wherever you listen to podcasts, blowing up on Spotify. I think you can also find it on iTunes, but check it out on Spotify, though. But she is all over the place. She has been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on, Joyce. And to you all, podcast listeners, thank you for being here. Please drop a comment. Let me know what you think about this episode. Shout out Joyce on your favorite social media channel. Let her know how much you loved it. And until next time, my friends, let us keep punching small talk in the face by asking better questions. Thank you all.